Vicky Scattini here, and I am so excited and extremely happy to bring you Jen Fontanilla. She is amazing. She's written 6 books, and this one I really like is Do Before I Do. Is that correct?
You got it right.
Okay. Wait till she starts talking about what she does. And I think, I'm always about bringing value. I think this is something so valuable because we don't want to talk about it. And when we don't want to talk about it, that means we need to talk about it. So I'm going to let her talk and explain because it's really good. So thank you for coming on the show. I'm really excited.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here with you too, Vicki.
Thank you. So tell us, let's start with the book. This is your 6th book, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And Do Before I Do. Tell us what that means.
Yes. So Do Before I Do was a book that I wrote out of experience, out of also being in the financial field for over 15 years. I saw many couples go through so many financial issues and challenges, and some of them ultimately leading to divorce. And that's even something I went through myself in 2009. And one of the things I realized was that, I used to co-host workshops for women going through transition where they were going through a divorce. And it was just really sad because I realized across the board, many women were not prepared. Many women didn't understand, oh my gosh, I wish, it was always like shoulda, coulda, woulda. They wish that they had been more in tune with what was happening in their financial household. They wish that they knew what was going on. They wish they knew what assets they had as a couple. So for many of you who might have experienced going through a divorce or separation, you know what that feels like. It's that uncertain moment in time where you don't know if you trust each other. You don't know if you are looking out for each other's best interests. And it's just a really scary, fearful, uncertain time. And so for me, it was really important just taking back those memories and understanding what these women were going through, what I have gone through myself, what some of my friends have gone through. I really felt it was important to take a step back and realize, you know what? Why don't we empower people? Why don't we empower couples to have these hard conversations about money so that we're being proactive? There's a phrase I keep saying about being proactive versus reactive. And so that's what the book is about. It's about these questions that you need to ask each other. That way you understand it's not that you just get along and everything's butterflies and rainbows and that you love each other, you finish each other's sentences. That's great. But we also need to take a look at, are we financially compatible? And so if you find out up front, then you have the option or the ability to decide, okay, how are we going to work through this? Where do we need to come together? What can we work on together? And you might even discover, like, you know what? We just can't get on the same page. But my goodness, at least you can discover that before you have to go down that path and be like, you know what? I mean, I had a friend that got married and then within 6 months, another one was within 1 year, they realized, oh my gosh, either rushed into this or we didn't talk about certain things. And of course, it ultimately led to divorce. And so, this is about empowering you. This isn't about, oh my gosh, I don't want to talk about it. Maybe we shouldn't. But when are you going to talk about it? When you're in that disastrous position? So this is, again, if you shift your mindset, you shift your perspective, this is about finances. And believe it or not, most people think cheating is the number one reason for divorce. It actually is finances and the lack of communication around finances. So this is, for me, something very near and dear to me because I went through it myself, and I don't want other people to experience that pain. And so this is about empowering you to make wise decisions, to be able to think about this before you find yourself in a predicament that you wish you never were in.
And I like the fact, because I remember, I've been married twice, and we were not raised to ask those questions, and I clearly remember, especially my first marriage, wanting to ask information, and I did not. But I wasn't raised to ask. And I think that's many women. And you're right. When are you going to ask it? If you're doubting if the other person is do they have your best interest, that's probably because you have that women intuition and they probably are not having your best interest. So it's definitely, you're too late to ask. I think this is really powerful. And how many women out there have you guys done this? You went on and got married and did not ask and then regretted for not doing. Let's say someone that is going through that scenario now. Maybe they got married and they're having issues. Hopefully they're able to work with it, but there's going to be times that it's a non-negotiable and whatnot. Those women that are out there, what would you say to them that didn't ask the questions and they're trying to come up with a happy medium?
Yes, that's a great question. I think what women need to do, if you find yourself in that situation, you need to ask yourself, how is your communication, first of all? Is it that you are able to be mature and respectful adults where you can have a conversation without getting into a fight? A lot of things that I've talked about on videos is about, do you come to the table when you're about to have a discussion? Are you judgmental? Are you coming to the table like this? What do we talk about now? You know, those kinds of body language signals, you know, because I know I've been in those. And as soon as you see it, or you know, as soon as you're going to enter that conversation, you kind of already have this idea, oh my gosh, that feeling, Vicki, that feeling in your stomach, you're like, oh gosh, I don't even want to talk about this because you know it's going to be yucky.
You do whatever just so you don't even have to get away from the question. Yes.
So
I know.
Those are signals telling you, you guys have a communication challenge that you need to overcome first. So if that's the case, I would suggest if it's at that point, if you cannot resolve this on your own, just the we're not even talking about the money yet. We're talking about just the plain communication. If it is at that level where it's so difficult, so bad, you might have to bring in, a counselor, a relationship coach, a therapist or something, because those are basic communication skills that really need to be worked on, because you will be able to not even just talk about money, but other things in your marriage. It could be your sex life. It could be about your children. It could be about anything. But if those things are not covered and those things are not worked through, you won't be able to talk about anything. But if you are not in that situation and you can have a respectful conversation, you know, it could just be as simply like, you know, hey, hon, I really been thinking about some stuff. And I really want to bring this up because, you know, we've been, you know, going along with everything, but I really think it's important for us to start planning, especially if you're in a situation where you've never talked about income. And there's people out there, I was just sharing with Vicki that Fidelity did a study where there was a huge percentage of couples where they didn't even know what their spouse made in terms of salary. And so I know that there's no planning going on because somebody's blindly paying the bills and you may be the one doing it or the spouse is, but there's not this cohesiveness of you being on the same page. And so this is a time to sit down and discuss like, okay, we need a plan. Because you may even find yourself in a situation where you don't even have basic foundations laid out, like insurance, estate planning. And it's really, really scary, let me tell you, that when people do run into this situation and they don't have those things in place, that is not a place you want to be in. You're scrambling. I mean, we're recording this during COVID quarantine right now, and imagine, you know, think about all those families who didn't have insurance, who had no estate planning, and they happen to have a family member fall victim to COVID-19. And it makes me think, oh my gosh, how many of those families were not prepared? I mean, even when it wasn't COVID yet and we weren't in the situation, I would just be driving down the street and I would see people doing bake sales, car washes. How many times have you seen somebody post GoFundMe because they need to raise funding for medical bills, funeral expenses? There's a wife and two small kids and they need money for food. I mean, GoFundMe I want to repeat this. GoFundMe is not a financial plan. That is not a backup plan. That is not a financial plan. And so this is what I'm saying, like you have to be proactive because you will find yourself in a world of financial hardship, a world of financial turmoil. It's not fun. So I think if you focus on how important this is to you, why this is important for your family, especially if you have children, this is and even further than that, this is about because some people can be cynical. Well, why do you want to know? Well, why do you need to know about the money? it's because you want to have peace of mind. And I think I want to encourage you to focus on that. It's not about you being nosy. It's just that, you know what, I want us to be okay. I want us to be good. I want us to know that we can sleep at night because we properly planned. We're not going to find ourselves in a problem if, and it's not sometimes if it happens, it's when it happens. Because, you know, we are all going to die at some point. So, or there could be an accident. I could die tomorrow. I'm insured. But it needs to be stressed and emphasized that you're doing this. Yes, you never know, and you want to be able to sleep at night.
I think if you haven't been doing, you haven't done that that talk, you know, I think if you are that and I don't want to say fearful, sometimes just even bringing it up and saying, like you said, you know what, it's just we women, we like security. We want to know that we're not going to be out on the street tomorrow, right? Men, they can go, you know, they can go till the last minute. When, you know, in 2008, when the market crashed, women were very stressed. Men could go until they could get their stuff kicked, you know, put out on the sidewalk. We women don't do that. So let them know. Just have that conversation. You know what? Me as a woman, I just sleep better at night, is being able to have this conversation. But if not, yes, that's a perfect one. Get yourself a coach. A lot of times just having one person, the third party person there, it's a lot easier for you to just have that conversation. And then you're able to speak about more things. You made a good point too. It could be about your sex life. If you're avoiding that issue, you're probably avoiding other areas in your life. And why do we do that? When we are all the same, we can just have an easy conversation. And if you have it from the beginning, it makes it so much easier. And guess what? Sometimes when you guys are both on the same page towards the same common goal, you'll get there that much faster. And you may have missed the boat on stuff because you just didn't have that conversation, knowing what the other person wanted, you know?
Yes. You know, you're so right, Vicki. There have been times when I've been in relationships and then I said something later on. I learned, oh gosh, you know, you learn your lessons the hard way, right? And I look in hindsight, I'm like, I should have just brought it up so much sooner. And you're so right. There have been times when my partner would say, well, I didn't know that you felt that way about it. And then I'm having this conversation and I'm kicking myself in my head thinking, like, why did I even hold back? Why did I not say anything? This is so dumb. Like, we have to open our mouths. But you also have to be careful. You have to be also a good listener. And it's the way you say it. We're not attacking one another. We're being respectful. We're listening. We have to be attentive. We have to show, those are how we show each other love, that we are listening to the other person, not like really, you know, and no sarcasm, no judgment, just listen.
I like that.
Not here.
I mean, that's a very good point. That is, when you went to sit down on the table, did you have that attitude? Be prepared to listen, and also be prepared to listen to what they have to say back. You know, I did an interview last week, and this goes into, I love what they said is talk or love the way they want to be loved. And I said, what? And yes, we want to be loved or be talked to in a certain way. But what about your partner? They want to be loved and talked to in a different way. Just we do what we want and dish it back to them in that way. They might not want to hear all the flowers. They might just want to hear different things. So I like that you be prepared and go in with an open attitude. And I think you are the one with the experience. Do you find if you go in with a more open attitude and more relaxed, but hey, I'm just more, you know, I just want to know because I'm concerned or whatever the reason is the partner more able to come up and actually say it instead of like, hey, why do you want to know?
It's it varies. It depends. You know, it comes back down to, you know, communication styles. You made a great point. You know, you made me think of this book called Five Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And if you understand the love language, and basically it's understanding the way your partner receives love, whether, and there's five of them, I hope I can remember them: time, gifts, affirmations, service. Oh gosh, I can't remember the last one. But if you understand
it, because I loved it when she said it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that made so much sense. I have to read that one too.
Yes. Oh, that's a must for couples. Yes. So for example, like just like what Vicki said, if maybe your partner feels love when you show them gift, you give them a gift, like, oh, maybe they're somebody who likes to receive flowers. Ironically, for example, flowers is not my thing. My gift, my love language is time. I feel loved when somebody spends time with me, that they just say, you could give me nothing, but if you gave me your time, I feel loved. Maybe somebody feels loved because you showed them acts of service, like you simply wash the dishes or you cook dinner and let your spouse take a break. That's another way. So if you understand the way that your spouse receives love or your partner receives love, their love language, on top of understanding their communication style, when you find out these different little strategies and tips, that it helps make that conversation go smoother, because you're showing them how, like you said, you're showing them how they want to be talked to, how they want to be loved. And so, yeah, it's like a lot of moving parts. It's like a 3-ring circus act. But you know what? Imagine the relief. Imagine the results you can get when you can start talking about this. I mean, you know, when you increase, this is like a magic. When you increase the communication, and when you talk about money and having a plan and doing and working towards that together and achieving your goals, you guys become closer. It's like everything starts layering and you become closer. Then there's something that switches in the couples, and now they're excited, like, oh my gosh, okay, we just crossed this off, we got out of debt, we paid that one credit card. What are we going to do now? What can we do now? It becomes like a game, and now you get excited. That's something that you rally together to do together. And that's so important, especially, you know, depending on how old you are and how old your kids are, because a lot of times I think couples make the mistake of ignoring one another. They don't date each other. Too much focus goes on the kids. I'm not saying ignore your kids, but how many times have you heard this? They become empty nesters. And then they say, we grew apart. It's like we don't know each other, because you stopped the communication. You stopped the date nights, and you just made it all about the kids, and you forgot about each other. And then the priorities were out of whack. So it's just so important to invest in each other's time and listen and have these conversations. You will grow closer together. It's like finding out what motivates one another, finding out you know, here's a simple exercise I'll give you guys. Separately, don't, you know, go one side of the room and you go on the other side of the room, and get a piece of paper and just simply write goals that you want to do. If you want a motorcycle, write motorcycle. If you want to remodel the kitchen, write remodel the kitchen. But when you're done with the list, put it somewhere where you both can see it, like the refrigerator or something like that. But here's the thing, this is no judgment. You cannot go to the other person's list and be like, you want that? You know, none of that. This is not about that. This is to allow you to say what it is that's been on your mind. And so when you have a meeting, or I call them money dates, you can say like, oh, you know what? Okay, which one do we want to work on? You'll be surprised. Sometimes one of the partners says like, oh, I didn't know you wanted to do that. Maybe that's something we can do next week. You just never know, because sometimes it's easier to write things. Yeah. Sometimes it's just, you know, how many times have you written a letter? Or this is why I think people got into texting, because it's sometimes so much easier to say it behind words than to vocalize it. Yes. Same idea and concept. So if you can just write this down, there's not this feeling like, okay, I don't want to say that I want this because I might get shot down. You know, because that's what happens sometimes. You've had experiences in the past. It might be with somebody before, or somebody with your partner, maybe your partner. But when you've expressed yourself, you felt that rejection. You felt shot down, and now it's kind of like we're wounded, and we don't want to come back to the table because we know. Yeah, we know what that feels like. So it will, you know, a lot of times you do build a stronger relationship. You're working together on a common goal to reach whatever it is that the goal is. So I think it does work in your favor, but just doing it. What
words can you give that woman that's out there and she's just on the verge, wants to say it, and we chicken out or you don't do it? What would be one word, one sentence that you would tell her? Because I think I like the fact, because I do believe in this, and it's happened to me in the past, is you do build a stronger relationship when you do open up about these things, and then it becomes so much easier to talk about so much more after you get over the hump, pretty much. So what would you
Yes.
tell that one girl that's just not, wants to do it, but can't?
Well, I would dig deep. I would say, I would find out, like, what do you feel that is holding you back? Sometimes we have to just have these self-talks to just kind of discover what are these subconscious patterns or beliefs. Sometimes, like I simply said earlier, that it could have been we've experienced rejection earlier on.
Yeah.
So sometimes I have to go through this exercise myself. Like if I'm going to make this call or something like that, I'm like, okay, what's the worst that could happen? Either they tell me no, they don't want to work with me. Am I going to die? Yeah. Am I going to die after I ask this question? No, it's not. What's the worst that could happen? And then the other question I ask myself is, what is the truth? It's not that I'm being rejected. It's just that maybe there's always these layers that we need to dig under to find out what is it that's stopping you. But if you can get past that, I would, for women, I would say, go to your partner and say, okay, here's advice, ladies. No man wants to hear, we need to talk. They don't like that. They do not like that. You don't do the we need to talk, because then you think that we worry, that festers in men's minds. So be direct, just straight out say it, because they're wired differently. So the best thing you can do is just like, I want to talk about our money situation. Just come out and just say it, because when you send a man that text, that message, we need to talk. Oh, let me tell you, so many things go through their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good space. You don't want to start creating that worry in their head. Like, well, what do you want to talk about? Like, just straight out say it.
And by the time they get there, in their head, they build it into so much more. Now,
yeah, because
how would you be able to help someone that, tell us, how are we doing on time? Okay, we're doing good. Tell us why you decided to do this, and how are you able to help others? Are you just helping women? Are you helping couples? Give us like a rundown, because you're making great points. And I think for us women that we're more sentimental, and I think just talking it out and realizing, like, perfect example, what would be the worst thing that happens? I'm not going to die. Yeah. The worst thing that happens is they just don't tell you the question. Okay. You continue with not knowing what you already don't know. So I think those are great key points that you have. Let us know why you got into this. And
yes,
I know you said when you went through the divorce, but to help others. And is it just men, women?
yes. So, the reason why I got into it was, yes, I did go through a divorce, but even from my experience, gosh, there's so many things that go into it. When I was a financial advisor, I saw so many couples not on the same page. I saw so many couples, there's like this uncertainty that they're floating through, where they think they want to do better, but then they don't know where to start. They don't know what they should be doing. It's like, yeah, they're just wandering in the darkness. And then that's what I was saying earlier, you just come into a situation and now it's like, now we're trying to take care of it. And it just didn't sit well with me. I really want to empower people to be prepared so that they feel solid, because I think that if we can, on an individual basis, be responsible with so many different parts of our lives, but especially because finance is my area, if we can think about it, all these things that are happening with the stimulus checks and all those different programs that we have, like, I can even think at the most basic level, if a lot of people, many people, if they had just had that emergency fund,
Yes.
So many people would
Yes.
not be in the situation that they're in. And that's what I'm talking about. It's those basic things that you might have heard over and over to ad nauseum, but you still aren't doing it. You still aren't doing it. Here we are, all of a sudden, faced with this coronavirus quarantine, no jobs, layoffs, furloughs, and now you feel stuck. But let me tell you, the people that were prepared, they are okay. They are calm. They're just writing this thing out. And then you have the other people on the other side of the spectrum, frantic. Where am I going to get my food? How am I going to pay for rent? How am I going to do this? That is not the space you want to be in. And so I really wanted to just reach out to people and be like, you know what? You really shouldn't have to live this way, but you have to be willing to do the work. So, I love helping women because that was just the area that I found like it just seemed to always be the women that I wanted to empower, because as a society, there are so many different constructs where the woman needs to understand, like, this is your time to rise. This is the time for you to be empowered. This is the time to stop saying, he takes care of that, I don't know what's going on. Ask him those questions. Like, for me, I feel like there's this rise in, women really taking control of their lives, really taking ownership of the things that they want to achieve in this life. And so, but I do help the couple together, so I do coaching, I do help couples, I help, individuals. You can either start with just reading the book, or if you feel that you can't do it on your own, or even like, Vicki said earlier, if you're at that place where, you need that third party person, that's where I can kind of guide you. If you need, that extra guidance and coaching through some of the financial concepts, some of the things that need to be put into place to just get your financial household and foundation in order. So, and I'm also doing an upcoming webinar on some of these things, because I really want people to understand you need to take a look at this. Like, this coronavirus thing, I really felt was as a wake-up call. A wake-up call for so many people, because they're going through this.
Yeah, I really, really do believe it is true. If even though it was bad, and I'm sorry for the people that got sick, I'm sorry for those that lost jobs, but it was a wake-up call to see where your life is at. Where have you done prep? I don't think it's going to be the only coronavirus ever. I mean, I didn't think anything like this was going to happen in my lifetime. And now it's sad, but I think it's going to happen again. And it's sad that I think this way, but you need to prep. You need to prep yourself, your family, and use the tools. Wouldn't it be so much better if, can you do it by yourself? Of course you can, but you can get there so much faster and accomplish so much more if you are able to get somebody that's experienced and knows, what they're doing. That would be huge, huge. So you say you're doing a webinar, and I don't know, and I'm probably putting you on the spot, but if you're able later on to give us the link, then that way we'll be able to share with our listeners, and hopefully they'll be able to join. I think this is a subject that, ladies, we don't want to talk about, but it's, that if you talk about it, you feel so much better and relaxed. So just do it. Just do it. It would make things a lot simpler, and you can both work on that common ground to reach your goals and never, ever be caught off guard again, ever.
Exactly.
I fully agree. Now, if someone wants to get a hold of you in the meantime, did you give us a date for the webinar?
No, I'm planning it soon. So yes, I will definitely have a link that will direct you where to go so that you can be on the alert of when that's going to happen.
So I put people on the spot. I just did it to her. Sorry.
No, I love it. I love being in the hot seat because it keeps me on my toes. But no, just make sure you the link will be put in the
put it at the bottom.
So just make sure. Yeah, make sure you connect.
After we do, if it gets aired, then I don't have a problem that we can come back and do it for the boss ladies. That would be amazing, because it is a subject that not too many people, I've never heard of anybody get into deep talking about this, because we don't want to talk about it. And I think, you getting the message out. I mean, the books, you couldn't have named it any better. Do before I do. That is perfect, especially because I can still remember where I was standing and I wanted to ask so bad and I did not do it. So other people are out there, so just bring alert others. Women, if we work together, we're going to move mountains. So let's just do it. Let's do it. Let's move these mountains and work together. Get to where you want to be. Especially, I'm no spring chicken. There's other women out there too that, could have lost their husband and maybe they didn't do their financing themselves. So what do? They never had to do it before.
Yeah.
Get a hold of Jen. She'll be able to help you, and it would be at least put you at ease. I'm putting you on the spot. So let us know how they can get a hold of you.
Yes, so you can either get a hold of me on social media, on Facebook or Instagram, and you can just look up Jen Money Coach. It's JEN Money Coach, or you can go to my site at www.jenmoneycoach.com. That's very easy. So, yes, JenMoneyCoach.com. And yes, send me a message, drop me a DM, and let me know that you were here with us, me and Vicky. And I'd love to chat with you and, see what, how I can support you, because I know what it's like. Trust me, the book, I joke around like this. I say, the book is titled Do Before I Do. And I share some of the biggest financial mistakes that I made myself. So I'm talking from experience, okay? So let me tell you, I did not write the book from this perspective that I'm so perfect, I'm a professional, I know it all, I did not make mistakes. No, let me tell you, I tell you where I messed up. So the subtitle could have easily been like, Do Before I Do, Not Do As I Did. So I want to encourage you that here's
I love it. I love it.
I want to encourage you here too. Maybe you're somebody who you found that I made so many mistakes. I feel so behind. I'm tired of being stressed. I'm tired of not being on the ball with my finances. I hate where I'm at. I don't like what's happening. I have felt all of those emotions. But the thing that I want to encourage you as well is learn how to have financial forgiveness. And what I mean by that is that happened in the past. This is your chance to change the course of things. This is your chance to stop and go, how much longer do you want to keep going down this road? This is this moment, when some people have more time right now because you can't go anywhere. If that happens to be you, some people are busier, but either way it goes, this is the time for you to stop and think, what can I do right now? Can I change the way things are going? Because let me tell you, when we go back to the new normal and be able to go back out into the world, when are you going to next have the time? I don't even know if that sounded right. But when is the next time you're going to have where you can actually take the time to really look at this? You're going to be busy all over again in a whole different way.
If you don't take the time, you're just not going to do it. Let's be simple. And
yeah.
you want to be on this vicious circle? I don't think you do, right? I think it's important to take charge of your life. Whatever has happened to you in the past, it's okay, because we've all had it. We've all made mistakes. You're not the only one. So just fix it. I'm like a big fix it one person. Thank you again, Jen. I'm going to put all the information below. And again, I will put the information for the webinar as soon as we get it, and follow her, JenTheMoneyCoach.com. Boss ladies, till next time, I cannot wait to see it. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.